Welcome to Spelling Bee Ninja, where we explore history, share stories, and delve into lessons of equality and justice. Today, we'll journey through the civil rights movement, uncovering key events, remarkable figures, and the relentless fight for justice that defined an era. If you're passionate about learning and want to grow your understanding of this vital chapter in American history, be sure to subscribe for more enlightening content. Let's get started. The civil rights movement was a pivotal era in American history, primarily during the mid-20th century, where African Americans fought against systemic racism and inequality. To understand the magnitude of this movement, we need to recognize the laws and social norms that perpetuated segregation and discrimination. After the Reconstruction era ended in 1877, Southern states enacted Jim Crow laws that enforced racial segregation in all areas of public life. These laws mandated separate facilities for black and white citizens, including schools, transportation, and even restrooms, under the guise of separate but equal. The truth, however, was far different. Facilities for black Americans were overwhelmingly inferior. The 1896 Supreme Court case, Plessy v. Ferguson, famously upheld the concept of separate but equal, which cemented these laws into the fabric of society. Understanding this legal backdrop is crucial to comprehend the later challenges presented to these injustices. Fast forward to 1954, the Supreme Court revisited the issue of segregation in public schooling. The landmark case, Brown v. Board of Education of Topeka, was a significant turning point. It arose when a father, Oliver Brown, challenged the system after his daughter was forced to attend a segregated school far from home. Thurgood Marshall, who would later become the first black Supreme Court justice, argued the case for the NAACP. The Supreme Court's unanimous ruling declared that separate educational facilities are inherently unequal, effectively overturning Plessy v. Ferguson. This ruling set a powerful precedent and marked a tremendous victory for the civil rights advocates. In December 1955, an act of defiance by Rosa Parks ignited the Montgomery bus boycott, a critical moment in the movement. Parks, a seamstress and NAACP secretary, was arrested for refusing to give up her bus seat to a white passenger in Montgomery, Alabama. This simple act of courage sparked a 381-day boycott of the city's buses, organized by none other than Martin Luther King Jr., who emerged as a national leader at that time. The boycott ended when the Supreme Court ruled that bus segregation was unconstitutional. This protest signaled a new wave of activism in the struggle for civil rights, showcasing the power of collective action. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. became perhaps the most iconic leader of this movement, known for his commitment to nonviolent civil disobedience influenced by Mahatma Gandhi. Leading the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, King organized protests, marches, and boycotts that galvanized the nation. One of his most famous addresses, the I Have a Dream speech delivered during the 1963 March on Washington, urged for a future where people would not be judged by their skin color but by their character. His dedication to the cause earned him the Nobel Peace Prize in 1964, making him the youngest recipient at just 35. Tragically, his life was cut short when he was assassinated on April 4, 1968, in Memphis, Tennessee, while supporting sanitation workers on strike. King's assassination was not just a loss for his family, but a profound blow to the entire civil rights movement, prompting riots and widespread grief across the nation. Another landmark event occurred in Little Rock, Arkansas, in 1957 when 9 black students sought to integrate Central High School. Governor Orville Faubus infamously ordered the Arkansas National Guard to prevent these students from entering the school, a vivid illustration of the resistance to desegregation. In response, President Dwight D. Eisenhower took the unprecedented step of federalizing the National Guard and sending the 101st Airborne Division to escort the students to safety in their educational pursuits. This intervention highlighted the federal government's role in enforcing civil rights, showcasing a commitment to equality that had been long overdue. An extraordinary moment in the civil rights movement occurred on August 28, 1963, during the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom, where over 250,000 people gathered at the Lincoln Memorial. This march was a significant display of solidarity demanding civil and economic rights for African Americans and ended with King delivering his inspiring I Have a Dream speech. The attention garnered from this event built momentum toward the eventual passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, landmark legislation that outlawed discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. This act ended segregation in public places and banned discrimination in employment, profoundly changing the social landscape of America. Originally proposed by President John F. Kennedy, who was assassinated before he could see it passed, the act was signed into law by President Lyndon B. Johnson. Johnson acknowledged the significant political cost of this legislation, noting, "We have lost the South for a generation," a testament to the challenging dynamics surrounding civil rights advocacy. Following this success, the Selma to Montgomery marches in March 1965 were pivotal in the fight for voting rights. During this tense time, peaceful marchers faced brutal attacks on Bloody Sunday. Images of state troopers violently confronting non-violent protesters crossing the Edmund Pettus Bridge shocked the nation and stirred public outcry. The march's successful completion ultimately led to the introduction of the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which eliminated literacy tests and other discriminatory practices designed to disenfranchise black voters, ensuring that African Americans could exercise their right to vote freely and securely. Another influential figure in the movement was Malcolm X, who had a distinct approach toward civil rights. A proponent of black nationalism and self-defense, Malcolm was born Malcolm Little and initially served as a minister in the Nation of Islam, advocating for the separation of races. His views evolved significantly after a pilgrimage to Mecca in 1964, where he embraced a more inclusive philosophy that rejected racial separatism. His infamous phrase, "by any means necessary," encapsulated his perspective that African Americans had the right to fight for their rights forcibly if necessary. Sadly, he was assassinated on February 21, 1965, and his legacy remains complex and impactful, inviting ongoing reflection on the strategies used within the civil rights movement. Lastly, Martin Luther King Jr.'s assassination on April 4, 1968, had shocking reverberations throughout the country. Standing on the balcony of the Lorraine Motel when he was shot, he was only 39 years old. His death triggered riots in over 100 U.S. cities and led to heightened nationwide tensions regarding civil rights, making it clear just how critical King's leadership was to the progress made thus far. After his death, Coretta Scott King, his widow, continued his work, ensuring that his dream of equality endured. In 1983, thanks to her and many supporters, Martin Luther King Jr. Day became a federal holiday, first observed on January 20, 1986, further ingraining his legacy within American consciousness. The civil rights movement was a time of great struggle, courage, and determination. It reminds us that the fight for equality is a collective effort that requires persistence and unity. The voices of leaders, activists, and everyday citizens alike shaped a future where justice and equality are ideals that we continue to strive for, ensuring they are accessible to all. Today, we explored the important developments within the civil rights movement. We discussed how systemic racism and segregation were challenged through legal victories, protests, and the tireless work of leaders like Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X. From the landmark Brown v. Board of Education ruling to the tragic assassination of King, we witnessed the multifaceted struggle for equality and justice. It's a reminder that history doesn't just inform us, it inspires us to continue advocating for rights and justice in our own communities. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the civil rights movement, a vital chapter in our shared history. We encourage you to reflect on these stories and consider the importance of standing up for justice in our communities. Be sure to subscribe for more insightful lessons from Spelling Bee Ninja, where learning never stops. Together, let's continue to explore the past and build a brighter future.